Dr. Fein, I understand that you have had an interesting career. Can you tell me about the years that you were a neurosurgeon?
Sure. I went to medical school at New York University in Manhattan, and from there trained in neurosurgery at NYU, and found it fascinating. We had as a role model a neurosurgeon who was very dynamic and very inspiring, and I had a really tremendous inspirational set of models during that time. And I went right from training into the Army, where I worked as a neurosurgeon. I was able to defer my Army obligation, and then went into a situation where my first assignment was to Vietnam in 1972. But after 3 days of being there, President Nixon apparently called it off. And I was offered instead to spend 2 years in Washington, D.C. At the NIH and the National Naval Medical Center. And I had to really think hard about whether I wanted that assignment. So that was a tough assignment. But it was a great 2 years. I was able to do research and do neurosurgery. From there, I went on to join the faculty at Albert Einstein College of Medicine, and was there for about 15 or 16 years, and then decided to do full-time private practice, and moved to Vassar Hospital in Poughkeepsie. So I've had a lot of fun doing that, and it's been interesting. I was able to focus on developing new techniques to treat stroke and cerebrovascular disorders. Was able to get funding for research, and did some, I think, very innovative things over the years, which led to relationships and contacts around the world, going to medical meetings. I think over the period of time I've been to almost every country of the world in that regard, except for maybe a few countries in Africa that I haven't touched. But otherwise have developed really nice relationships with other neurosurgeons around the world. I retired from neurosurgery around the year 2000, but have still been interested in keeping up with the developments in the field, going to occasional conferences, and it's been very rewarding in a lot of respects.
At what age did you retire from medicine?
It just seems like yesterday, but actually it was about 15 years ago. I retired from the active practice of neurosurgery. In my second day of retirement, I went out to look at a golf course, thinking that that's what a retired person should look at. And I looked at it and decided that it was definitely not stressful enough for my level that I had accommodated to over the years. So instead of taking up golf, I applied to law school, and then went to law school at Pace University. And they had a health law program, which I got a certificate in. And since then, I've been interested in a couple of aspects of law, including health law, nonprofit law, and animal rights law. And have been able to participate in in helping to legislate in New York State for issues around animal rights and regulation of animal shelters in New York State.
That's wonderful. I understand that while you were on the golf course, you learned about some things that you had not known about as a city boy, like trees.
Well, when I grew up in New York City, lived most of my life in New York City, and I kept hearing about these things called trees. Then finally, after I had lived in the city for such a long time, I thought it would be nice to see what these things were. So I ventured out to the suburbs and visited some of my colleagues who were practicing neurosurgery in the suburbs. And eventually I saw that life in the suburbs can be very nice, and got interested in trees and gardening. And when I moved to the suburbs to practice in Poughkeepsie, New York, we acquired an area that I've since developed into some nice gardens. So I've become a garden fanatic also.
We also understand that you have an interest in opera. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, I love opera. My wife and I try to be as involved as we can where we live, and I myself was part of an opera chorus for a short period of time when it existed in Poughkeepsie. I was part of a chorus in Rigoletto and in Elysir d'Amour. And very often my wife will tell me to stop singing when I'm in the bathroom, or when I actually go to an opera and I'm singing along with the opera singers. So I'm purely an amateur, but I do love the opera.
Tell us about the ASPCA and your interest in that.
Oh, we've been active in our local SPCA in Dutchess County, which, interestingly, for a relatively small community, it's surprising that we are actually, I believe, the second oldest SPCA, privately run SPCA in the country. We started in 1871 and have been continually operating since then. There was a short period of time when, because of financial difficulties, they had to actually close shop, but otherwise the community has been very supportive of our efforts. We just recently got a major grant from New York State in which we are going to hopefully add a significant capability to our current facility. And we are in the process of starting an active capital campaign to supplement what we've gotten from New York State.
Are you still on the board of the Jewish Foundation or Federation?
I'm on the board of the Jewish Federation of Dutchess County also.
Okay. What drew you to Palm Isles?
Well, we rented a place right near the water for a couple of years along the intercoastal. But after one of the storms, we realized that there were pros and cons to living right on the water. We looked for a place that was reasonably close to the water, and Palm Isles seemed to have it all. It is beautiful physically, it's really well maintained, but it's not, it doesn't have that gaudy design that some of the places do. So I appreciate the balance of nice planning, layout. It seems to be very well managed. Most importantly, the people in the community all seem to be quality people. Really nice people, helpful, and just fun to be with.
What activities do you particularly enjoy?
I'm at the gym every morning. I'm in the sun every day. I'm at the pool. I do a little tennis, and I'm involved in the science club and in the history club.
Well, Dr. Fein, this has been a fascinating interview, and I thank you for being part of our Palm Isles video presentation.
Well, thank you. You're a great interviewer.